So my take today focuses really on one specific topic on which I have been doing research at UCL with Marta and also Mark Altwill, which is essentially my side, my team, and the digital side of the project in the research that we're doing collaboratively with Durham and Richard. So we'll focus on uses of the past in contemporary discourse about mobility and border. And this is a huge theme, which actually makes up part of what another concept that I'm starting to explore and really pilot, which is that of European social heritage. So thinking of the assemblages of objects, places and practices from the Roman to the medieval period, and here the slant is on the medieval, Roman to medieval, because I am a medieval archaeologist. With then a specialism and a lot of focus in my research on heritage, which are called upon to discuss challenges that are faced by European societies today, and particularly three different challenges that are increasingly explored as being interlinked and connected in the past and in the present. One is large-scale mobility, something that I will talk a little bit more in a second, urban growth and social inequality. And this is a concept that I'm starting to develop and pilot at UCL, and which is largely based also on the initial work that we have been doing there, and also with Richard during this first year of the Ancient Identities Today project. I will talk about uses of the past in contemporary discussion that takes place on social media, and I'll look particularly at Facebook, in relation to border control and Brexit specifically. Brexit is a fantastic word if you're working with digital heritage, because it immediately identifies the issue. It's been used across borders internationally, so it gives you also an opportunity to gauge and in a way pick up some international debate on the issue, even though from what we've been seeing, and I will also talk a little bit more about this, the majority of the discussion really takes place in English, and of course is primarily taken forward by people who are based in the UK, from what we have been seeing. So I'm focusing on a particular context of heritage production, which is political activism. What we've been doing in the very first months of the project was mining, extracting data from Facebook that contained essentially posts and comments and replies that were posted to pages that contained some period-specific keywords like Iron Age and medieval and Roman. And what we saw and we could categorize are the different topics in relation to which and in the context of which these pasts are invoked. So you can see here some of the categories. These are the human activities that are discussed on this particular through this particular social networking site, and in which participants use the words Iron Age, Roman, and medieval. So I'm particularly focusing on political activism in this context. Now, political activism in social media has been variously theorized in, obviously, not archaeological literature, but in international in literature related to public policy and international politics. And there are some studies, the majority of them really focuses on looking at the efficacy of these platforms to essentially move forward political mobilization and bring about social change. Views have been, commentators have been taking very different and opposite positions, from very negative to very enthusiastic and positive. The kind of theoretical framework that I have been using is, however, slightly different. It's borrowed from the work of Marical, from his idea of a political microactivism. So the fact that it's important to study the ways in which certain issues, political issues, are debated on social media, to understand the ways in which people are constructing political identities, their own political identities. So what I'm looking at in this particular paper is the role of ideas, materials, objects and practices connected with Iron Age, Roman, early medieval periods in the construction of hoped-for political identities. Hoped for, because this is in the context of Brexit, so obviously people were expressing preferences for one outcome over the other of the referendum. And again, it's borrowed from the work of Marical in this context. To do this research, we've been taking an ethnographic approach that was introduced at the beginning, but essentially it investigates human activities and how the past is rehashed in the context of human activities by researching the ways in which these activities unfold online and potentially also offline, and looking at the interconnections of online and offline fields. The work that I will present at this stage is particularly focused on the analysis of the digital or web data, essentially, on Facebook, or Facebook data. But we would like to later on follow it up with a survey and contacting specific people who have participated in these discussions to really understand the extent to which they have been incorporating these debates into their life, and the extent to which certain debates have also been followed up in offline, essentially. We have created some bespoke research software to extract this web data and also analyze it, primarily through topic modeling, term and other simpler kinds of text analysis, like term frequencies and term associations. What we did to look into discussions about Brexit on Facebook was, first of all, identify and extract all the text that was contained in Facebook pages that contained the word Brexit in the title or their description. And then we searched this content using period-specific keywords, and by period-specific keywords I mean a set of 537 keywords that we started with, which contained names of Roman emperors, so they were related essentially to people, places, and specific practices that essentially could be understood as identifiers of these specific keywords, of these specific periods. And then we manually, initially, we essentially verified the content and the results. And in this way we could refine our keywords and then do another round automatically excluding some of the keywords that we had introduced initially because they were bringing about too much ambiguity, essentially. Then we did a study to understand the context. So who had been setting up these Facebook pages and what position were the initiators taking towards issue, because that sets the context in which the discussion then takes place, and it's the basis of discourse analysis, both quantitatively and qualitatively. So we saw that the majority of these platforms for discussions or Facebook pages about Brexit were neutral in presenting themselves. So they provided a space where people could debate the issue. Or they were providing news about the issue itself without taking a standing. There were then quite a few pro-leave, as you can see, 62, and less on the Remain side. And the majority was set up by a group of people. And this is important because it means that these are groups established offline, which are then also doing debate online. We could do further work on that. So I already have 3 minutes, so very briefly. What we saw with this work really highlighted the presence of essentially, here I'm highlighting some of the terms that were recurring the most, and I'm including also outliers. You see the recurring of the idea of barbarism and Roman Empire, primarily, and also the other concepts related to the Holy Roman Empire to a lesser extent. Looking at terms associations, so what particularly the term Roman and particularly the term empire are associated with, you'll see that Roman is often associated with words like xenophobia. These are actually tokens, inferior, occupation, soldier, and conquest. They're not identified with these terms, they're associated, so it can be opposed or identified. And the term empire, in particular in combination with Roman, links to pre-millennial Protestant views about the return of a Roman Empire in the form of a new European Union. So European Union is a bad thing because it's the new Roman Empire coming back to place and the end of times is going to happen. And this brings me to, very quickly, to actually back to some of the dualities that Richard was talking about at the beginning. We see in the analysis of text the recurring of the opposition between civilization and barbarism on the one hand, but also its interlinking with the opposition of spiritual and rational, with rational still identified with the Roman Empire and a hostile force, and Protestantism as a new spiritual force that is opposing the Roman Empire and as a new Roman Empire. And ideas of oppositions between freedom and domination and multiculturalism versus what I think is actually resilience. I'm going to give you a bit of a qualitative flavor as well. Pro-leave narratives have emphasized this identification of the Roman Empire with the European Union and the dominating aspect of the Roman Empire and its present-day correspondent of the European Union, highlighting the necessity to really resist things. And they have also emphasized the function of this new Roman Empire and the effect that it's having in smashing together cultures and really suppressing them in this way. And for this reason, I was talking about an opposition between multiculturalism on the one hand and what is felt as resistance, cultural resistance on the other. And to conclude, and I'm sorry about this incredibly swift presentation of the results, what I really wanted to highlight was what we've been seeing as the validity of this concept of dualities, that we really saw how entrenched they are and how much they are recurring, but in very general terms. with very little reference to specific people and places of the past in the context of this discourse, and very little direct citation of any sources within the authorized heritage discourse. This is not to say that the authorized heritage discourse and its practices have not had impact or any impact, but that this impact is not directly conscious, and possibly it's been building up over like a substantial period of time. Moving forward, something that we would like to look at, looking at texts, essentially it's easier, is really other topoi beyond oppositional ones, and beyond those of dualities that we have been introducing. And I think I will close here, because I think I've reached.